Hello.
Hey Chaitanya.
Hi. I think we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also in my community as well.
Cool, awesome.
So, sure, we can start the webinar. So, first of all, hi guys. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Who are all joining us from different parts of the world. Today we have Vivek Karna from Zivy team. So, we are going to explore what Zivy actually does and all of its capabilities. So, Vivek ji, let's welcome.
Sure, awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot, Chaitanya.
Yeah. So before starting or diving into the state demo of your tool, I just had a thought. Why you thought of building specifically Zivy and why you are trying to focus more on Slack?
Yeah, sure. A good question. And so the history of Zivy actually started with our times, like Prashant and I, one of the co-founders at Zivy. We're working together at Razorpay, and we experienced the problem that we're solving at Zivy firsthand while being at Razorpay. Right. So what happens is, and a lot of people who actually are part of high growth teams, irrespective of the size of the team, it could be a very small team as well, but like managing a lot of things, or it could be a large team managing multiple initiatives. What happens is there's so much chatter that happens at the work, right? And so we were using Slack, and Slack there were so many channels, so many notifications that keeps coming up all the time during the day. It makes it tough, right, to make sense of what's really going on. Of course you can have an offline chats with people and all that, but there's so much information which is there on tools like Slack or Teams, right? So we as managers, or anyone who's like a lead or a manager or an executive, has so many information to really capture from amongst all the noise that comes up. So with Zivy, what we're trying to really do is pick out the signals from all of this noise. There is a lot of information which is there, hidden there in all this chatter that happens, and all this communication is really kind of good for the org, right? Because everyone gets a chance to kind of express themselves, express these views, and we felt like Slack or any of this tool, right, has done a great job in terms of making sure that everyone gets a voice, and that actually this whole communication also accelerated a lot during COVID time, because a lot of things actually became async, and but what we felt is that there is a set of people in the company who would receive those lot of messages, right? So if I'm a manager, I'm managing a team of say 8, 9, 10 people, and 2, 3 projects at the same time. I actually have to really consume messages from all of these people. Apart from that, my peer group in the org, as well as my leadership, right? So for me to consume all of this, make sense of it, focus, and decide what to focus on is super tough. So with now the capabilities that we have in terms of processing large unstructured data through GenAI, it's a lot more easier to kind of make this happen. So that's how the idea of Zivy came in, and we have been kind of on this mission for the last couple of years.
Okay. So when you started building Zivy, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of started on in early 2023 in terms of figuring out what should the product construct be. There are a lot of iterations that the solution has gone into, basis the feedback from our early users, and right now what we're going to show is pretty much like the fourth or fifth version of the product, right? We kind of iterated through a lot. This is the users' feedback.
Sure. Okay, let's dive into the product demo then.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Oh, my screen is visible.
Yeah, your screen is
Yeah,
visible.
cool. So the integration with Zivy is very simple forward, like just like one-click integration to your Slack workspace. And once you do that, Zivy starts like automatically like processing your messages, so whatever messages that you get on Slack, right? Be it on public channel, private DMs, whatever. Um, we start processing all these messages and then figure out what's really is an information and what is really a noise, right? So if you see, the dashboard is very simple. It just shows the category, different category of messages that comes up on Zivy. So actionable is something which you can think in terms of Zivy creating auto to dos for you from processing the Slack messages. and FI is more like some of an kind of updates that you need to be aware of, and low priority is all the noise, right? So your actionables and FIIs create this category of messages which are like important for you. An actionable is important and urgent, and FI is like important but may not be urgent, right? And the rest everything is like noise which goes into low priority. So we do this out of the box. Of course, as you use Zivy, we kind of learn from how you are actually, using these messages. What you're replying to, whom you're replying to, and what topics are you more active, which topics you are less active, right? Which the teams or people that you're actually interacting more with, right? So we kind of learn from all your behavior, and then you have some control, which I want to show you as well later in the demo, in terms of how this feed is very personal to you. So in the same org, for example, if I, if Chaitanya and I, for example, are the same org, right? For us, Zivy will be like different. Zivy dashboard will be different because our priorities would be different. And even though, say, we are both engineering managers or product managers or whatever, still the priorities will be different because their focus will be different. The kind of people, the conversation that we're having are different, right? So it's very personalized sort of like feed for you. So that's how Zivy like for the first set like just reduces things that you need to look at and let you focus just on what you kind of is important for you, right? So that's first. And once you kind of see those messages, whatever action that you need to take on those messages, right? Typically, what do you on Slack, right? You would either reply to those messages. So we kind of help with that. So, for example, here, you can just like look at this message and you have the complete context of this message, right? It could be a thread, it could be a channel message, it could be a DM. We'll show you the entire context of that thread. And then with that context, it can actually help you in terms of what responses you need to give, right? So we generate auto drafts, like AI draft responses for you. You can just click any of them, make some changes if you want. It will be in your tone, further changes on that, and you can just simply send your reply. And there is a two-way connection between Zivy and Slack. So whatever you send here goes to your to your Slack as well. The person consuming it on Slack may not even know you're using Zivy, so you can reply to it. Sometimes you're in the midst of something, you just want to kind of really act on a few messages and then just put other messages on to reply later. So what you can do is very simply just like click on respond later. So it'll just move the message from inbox to later. This is you can think of this as like you're moving your messages to be actioned later. So all of that will go here in later section, and you can go back to that queue later, like in terms of finishing that up, right? Apart from that, you can do things like snooze the message for later so that you get a reminder. You can actually convert that to a task on Zivy itself, or you can directly schedule this task as a task on calendar, right? So any action that you take, it will like just you can just select your time, and it will just like basically dismiss that message from your feed, right? So you don't really have to worry about that feed any longer. And lastly, this came on from the feedback of our early users as well, right? A lot of time you actually have to remember to follow up with people, right? So Zivy automatically follow ups on your behalf. You simply have to set up a follow up with the person in terms of say it could be about the status on a project or anything else that you don't want to remember, but you don't want to really follow up manually as well, right? So if you do that, Zivy automatically helps like follow up on that message on your behalf. And if they say no response on that message after whatever number of follow-ups, will also let you know that hey, this has not been responded to. Probably you need to kind of go intervene manually, right? So these are the kind of action that you can actually take on Zivy. Chaitanya, I'll take a pause if you have any questions, or I will continue with the demo.
As of now, I can't see any questions. You can continue with the demo. I think the stream got discontinued on our community all of a sudden. So I have reshared uh, my own stream and tagged everyone. So people will start joining by this method.
Okay. Okay. So shall we continue, or
We will continue.
okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, so these are kind of actions that you can actually take through Zivy. You can also like composed messages. So one set of things that you're doing is basically looking at the prioritized messages that Zivy is throwing at you on the dashboard and taking action. Other pieces in terms of just like just composing messages, right? It could be a DM to a person or a message to a channel, and you can actually tag people there. So you can just simply just type your messages and then send it across, right? So Ziri will post the messages on your behalf. That's another feature. And also for people who are little more familiar or a little more comfortable with like a list view, we also allow for that. So what you can do is actually you can just like go through all of these messages, just like the way you see like emails, right? And you can just navigate it very quickly through keyboard shortcuts. You can just like move through all this messages in just by using keyboards. And once you kind of review all of that, you can also dismiss it if it's not relevant for you. So that's kind of a list view for you. Earlier in the demo, I also spoke about how you can further personalize the feed for yourself, right? So what you can do is we provide something called custom rules. Think of them as prompts that you would give to ChatGPT or Claude, right? So we allow for further customization that actually can do on a personal basis. So say, for example, I want every messages that is tagged to product to be classified as an actionable, right? So this is like very English word, like in phrasing of how the rule would be. It's very simple, very easy for users to actually define those rules. It doesn't have to be very technical, framed in a very technical way. So Ziggy will take these into consideration apart from whatever training that we have done, right, in terms of ensuring our models really work for you, right, and in terms of constantly learning from that. So this kind of aids into that information processing, and then that kind of makes your feed even more personalized, right? So yeah, I mean this is what we have so far in terms of offering for the users. We are further kind of adding more features into it in terms of how do we make it even more easy for you to send replies, for the users. How do you really get more information out of it, because a lot of information is available on Slack. How to make it easier for you to search for historical information so that you can make quick decisions, right? So the idea is that you should not really spend a lot of time really processing the messages that comes your way, and rather focus that time on doing more strategic work. For example, like planning or any kind of team. If you want to do like more focus more on feedback, on performance management, and like sprint planning or strategy discussion that you need to have, right? You can actually focus on more high leverage work as a manager, rather than like spending a lot of time just processing messages and get pulled into that. Yeah, I'll stop sharing for now. Chaitanya, you're on mute. So can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. So you can keep sharing your screen so that whatever questions I have, you can directly showcase.
Okay, cool. Sure. Yeah.
I think it's now visible. Okay. So inbox is more of a task manager where it's going to categorize all the conversations happening, and then it will be showing into actionable, FYI, and low priority messages, right?
Think of it as not as a task manager, but in terms of presentation of information which is relevant, which is important for you. So actionable is something which is important and urgent. FI is like important but not urgent, and rest everything is like noise, which goes into low priority, right? So you
Okay.
get a different view of all messages. So you may be getting like say 100 notifications in Slack during the day, but what you see is maybe just 10 of that, right? Out of which just maybe there are two actionables for you. There are a few FIIs, but the rest everything goes into low priority.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Just a moment. Sure. And in letter, so if we are adding that particular conversation to a respond letter, so it will get added to letter, and
Yeah.
it's just for the sake of us, or it will also help you follow up automatically.
Yeah, so later and follow up is are two different features.
Okay.
So with later, what happens is, say, and probably kind of you can relate it to, so for example, like messages, say for example you get on WhatsApp or any kind of chat platforms, right? You don't have mind space to right now respond to that at this moment, because you need to think through something, maybe follow up with someone else to kind of get a response and then frame your response and send it, right? Whereas some things are very simple to reply to, right? So anything that's simple to reply to, you can just make a decision on the fly that you can reply immediately and dismiss that message from your feed. But others ones you can actually park it for later. So response later helps with that, and keeps your inbox clean, right? Follow up is where you for sure know that like you want to follow up with the person, right? So you have a colleague, you have a reportee who is working on a particular project, and the deadline is coming up, right? And you want to follow up with that person in terms of a few days down the line in terms of what is the progress, because you might yourself may not remember it, right? One thing is what people do right now is basically they set a reminder for themselves, right, to kind of keep following up, or they might just forget it. So this follow up feature helps you just set up a follow up once and just forget about it. What Zivy does is that it nudges the person that you want to follow up with in a very human way, and not like in a bot fashion. And kind of once they reply to it, Zivy lets you know that there's been an update on this. Or even in the case where they don't reply to it after multiple follow-ups. So Zivy is smart in a way, right? It follow-ups in a way that a human would follow up, right? So it will have one follow-up, and then we'll figure out when to basis the response. For example, someone might just say a thumbs up to a follow-up, right? But may not be really replying with something, or maybe replying with, say, hey, I'm going to look at it, right? So they have acknowledged the follow-up, but not have really given an update, right? So Zivy kind of understands all of that and does another nudge or follow-up automatically, and it takes a certain number of attempts at following up. And then if it goes closer to the deadline, or say it reaches the deadline, the Zivy will actually let the manager that hey, this has not been acted on, and probably you need to intervene. So that's the difference between, say, a follow-up feature and a respond later.
Okay. And now it's showing me messages in design reviews. So within a Slack workspace, there are multiple channels. So we can jump in between all these channels within this single dashboard, right?
That's correct. So it doesn't matter whether it's a DM or a channel message, right, or a thread message, right? It all comes up in different categories. The only criteria is that where does it fall depends upon, like, again, as I'm mentioning, what is it really important or not important for you.
Okay, yeah, sure. Got it. And what about the accuracy? So all of these features, there's an AI part included.
Yeah.
So can you tell how this prioritization has been accurate for the users that you already have? What was the initial feedback?
Yeah. Of course, it has taken his own time to get to a really good accuracy, and that's the reason why we have been at work on this for quite a bit. Spend a lot of time on terms of fine tuning stuff, and training the models, and getting user inputs on that. So initially, way back in I think. Uh, Late 2023, when we actually were getting our models kind of up and running and testing that, the accuracy was not that great. But now the users who are using Zivy, right, the customers that we have, are really happy with the classifications that we get, right? So we don't really see in terms of any complaints coming up in terms of, hey, this is something I missed because I was on Zivy and was not using Slack, right? We err on the side of caution in terms of showing you things. So it's possible that maybe some non-important message might come here on important category, but we ensure that no important messages actually go into low priority, because we don't expect people to actually go and check low priority in any regularity as such. We completely can ignore it. So right now our accuracy is around 92%. In terms of whatever analysis that we have been doing, and we keep adding to it. The whole model is also is built in a way, the whole processing in the backend is actually multi phase processing that actually happens. We have been very hyper focused in terms of just building it for managers, and within managers, we have really focused on more on R&D managers, but also people who kind of work on projects, right, and understand how they work, right, what kind of things they care about. right? So there's a layer of processing that happens in the backend before it actually goes into, through our models that we have actually trained, and further then there's an element of, LLMs that come into picture, right? So there's three level of processing that actually happens before it surfaces the right information to you. So yeah, I mean, we have been like, our users have been really happy with the classifications and the prioritization that we get.
Okay, got it, got it. And if a certain actionable has been done from our side, so is there a way we can move that to something somewhere else, or mark it as completed?
Yeah, sure. So once you have taken an action, like, on the message, for example, you have replied to that message, right? You can simply dismiss it, right? You just press E, and that message will go away, right? So it's very easy to do all of that. This Everything actually can be done through keyboard shortcuts. So we
Okay,
have keyboard shortcuts for everything. You don't really have to use mouse at all, and also moving around the dashboard and taking action.
got it, got it. Sure. Okay. So, and what's there in the tasks?
Okay, cool. So in case you, as I'm mentioning, right, if you set some messages as a task for later or snooze them, so our follow-up, right, all of that basically comes up in tasks. So anything which we have postponed it for later in terms of, taking some action. So to do will be a task that you need to work on before you can actually, address that particular, like, thing that you need to work on the particular message, right? So that will come up in to do. Similarly, snooze will be your messages that you have snoozed for later. So whenever, say, I've snoozed it for tomorrow evening, then it will come back on my inbox when the time arrives, so that you don't have to remember anything, right? And similarly, follow-ups, as I'm mentioning, you follow up with persons. You can actually see if there is an ongoing follow-up happening, or it has been escalated, right? So you can check all this information here. So all of this combined together form tasks, right? All of this is the origination of all of this comes from inbox. So whatever action you take on inbox will lead to whether they fall into to do, snooze, or follow-ups.
Okay, got it. So there's so much of AI involved, and you might be aware Slack is also introducing their own AI system.
Yeah.
So how it compares with Slack AI? So what are the advantages on top of Slack AI?
Yeah, right. And we get this question and frequently as right. Um, and we have used Slack AI ourselves. And Slack AI, I think, is great for certain use cases. I'll tell you what use cases is great for, right? It's great for, say, if you just want to do a start of the day or end of the day summaries, is great for that. Um, uh, now they also have like an enterprise search, which makes searching on Slack better, because earlier it was like very difficult to get information on Slack. So for those use cases, Slack AI is great. um, but Zivy actually, differentiates, right? And it's a very different use case, right? So we act as a personal assistant for you, right? Now Slack is the platform that we have chosen to kind of work on, because in a lot of the kind of people that we are looking to kind of serve at this point of time in our journey, those people, those companies are active on Slack. And because Slack has this great marketplace where other apps are also integrated, in terms of all the context that we need, say, on a particular topic, say from messages on Slack, or some information flowing from GitHub or Linear or Jira or Asana, whatever tools you use, right, as a team, all of that information context is available in a single place, right? So we can process all of that to give you the right information on Zivy, right? So we are not in the even though we help with, say, summarization of threads, for example, like, on this thread, if it's a long thread, then you will see a summary button, and the summarization, some summarized thread will summarized information will come in. But our the primary value add that we're providing, our proposition is for users, is that hey, you don't really have to be active on Slack all the time, right? That something is not currently possible through Slack AI. And because you get notifications throughout the day, right? Like, fine, you, for example, if you are just if you're opening up your Slack on Monday morning, and then you have so many messages coming on, say, sometimes in global team over the weekend and other messages, you might find Slack AI useful in terms of just summarizing things, to start off your day. But Zivy actually works throughout the day. It keeps your noise away during the day, because you get notification during the day as well, right? That's one. Second is in terms of our focus, right? Our focus is completely in a very niche set of users, managers, and our tool is primarily built around that, right? Slack AI is kind of built to serve all the Slack users, which is like into millions, right, of users. And so it is not like personalized in terms of for the user we are focusing on. So we kind of differentiate a lot in terms of the workflows that we are automating, in terms of what we show to these users, right? Is very different. For example, the things that we are working on in terms of how do I show to a manager how their team are working on Slack, right? Who is kind of really active, who's responds faster, who's kind of responds slower, where do you need to work on, which are the things which are going on fine smoothly, which are the things which are like needs your attention, right? All of that is very very specific kind of implementation of AI for a specific set of users. And the reason why we're focusing on managers, because the whole organization in terms of execution speed, right, actually depends a lot in terms of how much informed the manager is and how much time they actually have, not on the calendar itself but also in the mind space, right, to be able to act on that information to make the right decisions at the right time, right? That is
Okay.
something which needs a very specific focus, and that's where Zivy differentiates itself in terms of Slack AI.
Yeah, got it. So since this, since you are going to watch on all this conversation, so everyone will want to know how their data is secure
Yeah.
and how you are taking care of the data.
Yeah. I mean that's definitely is there on everyone's mind in terms of data security, privacy, right? Want to make a couple of points here. First of all, we do understand data security and privacy very deeply. Having worked in a fintech company, which is kind of regulated, and be going through a lot of audits by third party, including banks and other entities. So that's something that we already have knowledge on, and that's what we have baked in Zivy from day one, right? So all your data in terms of whatever processing happens is completely encrypted and anonymized. We are on AWS in terms of all our processing, and um, so that's like very secure. Apart from that, like in terms of all the VAPT testing that we need to do, we have done third party audits. We have done all the certifications in terms of giving that comfort to the user as well, right? In terms of we have SOC 2 certified, we are ISO 27001 certified and GDPR compliant as well, right? So in terms of security, the way we are handling data, in terms of demonstrating that, in terms of being audited by third party, and like showing the proof, all of that is in place for people to be really feel comfortable in terms of how the data is being kind of processed and how secure it is.
Okay, sure. And how long does the setup of Zwi will take?
Oh, that's very simple. Like just a single click integration. You don't really have to do anything at all. It just works. Like you just like do a one click integration, to your Slack workspace, and it just starts prioritizing from the next notification onwards that you get on Zip.
Got it. What if I have multiple workspaces for multiple clients? Then how are we going to manage all this under the single dashboard? So does Zwi
Yeah.
support
So
multiple
yeah.
workspaces?
Sorry. Was there something else?
Yeah. So I was saying, what if I have multiple Zwi workspaces, multiple Slack workspaces? Does Zwi support multiple workspaces, or how it works actually?
Yeah, sure. So I do understand like there are like companies, small businesses or agencies, right, who would have multiple workspaces in terms of managing the clients. So the way it works with Zivy is that uh, you connect to your primarily like your Slack workspace that you work on, and if you have say your Slack connect with your client, so you for example, and I'm an NC and I actually have Slack connect with my client A, B, and C. All of that message will actually come to my Slack workspace itself, right? So if that is set up, then Zivy will process all of your like messages across all of your clients and will show up on the dashboard. In fact, you can actually set up custom rules, and then you can actually process certain client messages, differently than others. But if you have, you're part of, say, Slack workspace of your client and not using Slack Connect, then in that case, for Zivy to really work, then Zivy needs to be installed on your client's Slack workspace, right? So that becomes a little tricky, because then your client needs to kind of agree to install Zivy on their Slack workspace, right? But we have seen in our user base, people who are actually working with multiple clients, the way they have been managing this is basically being able working with different clients on Slack Connect, in which case it's just like a channel that comes up on your Slack first page, and all messages from client comes on those channels, and then Zivy, you can use Zivy to kind of process all of that.
Sure. Got it. Is there a way that I can see how much of time Zivy has reduced or saved for me? Or are there any analytics that you want to showcase?
Yeah, actually, on the we actually show you all of that in your account settings, in terms of how much time have you reclaimed today, by we filtering out the messages proactively from your feed. So you can see that how many messages have we taken away from from you, from your attention, and correspondingly how much time have you saved, right? In terms of how much time ideally would you need, right, to kind of look at those messages, process those messages. So we kind of show those information. We're adding more things into analytics in terms of understanding, make you more aware of how you're using Slack, which the times you're most active on, which the times you're less active on Slack. Generally, like what kind of things that you respond faster to. So we are adding more things to analytics as we speak. But at this point of time, we kind of show you all this, various numbers to give you a sense of, how much time are we saving it for you.
Okay. There's another question that many users are asking based on
Yeah.
our interactions, that if I'm on a free plan, so
Yeah.
are there any restrictions from Zivi's side, and how it differentiates for free users versus paid Slack users?
So as far as ZV is concerned, we don't differentiate. It doesn't really matter whether you're on a free Slack workspace or pro plan, or whatever plan. It doesn't really matter. Once you integrate with ZV, we will be able to process your message, and it's no difference for us, right? Yeah, but like obviously there are restrictions on buy Slack on a free Slack workspace, in terms of say the history of the messages that you actually see, right? So beyond 3 months, I think you can't see the messages, right? And there are restriction of, I think, 10 apps that you can install on a free Slack workspace. So whatever our restrictions are there is from Slack's end. From Zivy's perspective, there is no differentiation at all. Difference.
Got it. If you want to quickly showcase your site and some other insights, like which teams are using Zivi effectively, how you have recently raised funding as well. So you can just quickly share your website and help users to dive into it.
Yeah. Hope you
Yeah,
can
your
see.
site is visible now.
Okay, awesome, great. Yeah, so we actually have been, like working in this, as I said, for for quite some time, right, and getting it right for our users. And if you can see certain logos here, Credit Saison, for example, is an enterprise client, right? And there's a big Japanese NBFC. They have been using Zivy, specifically the data science team, engineering team. They loved in terms of what Zivy has to provide in terms of the time savings, and also the way the information is kind of shown in terms of very simplistic UI UX, which doesn't create any overload in the mind. Because sometimes, a lot of people actually find like Slack UI was very overwhelming to kind of consume. um, uh, and and we have find people really using ZV and happy with it across different team sizes. For example, Super Demo, right, is a very small team, and they're doing really well in terms of their business, but they're a team of just like 5 or 6 people, but completely remote team, right? So there are people all over the world, and like just engineers and the founders who are working on the product. They have so much noise on Slack, even though there's a small team, and that was like a revelation for us, right? While we're building out Zivy, we assumed that only a team of certain size, beyond a certain size, will actually find Zivy useful. But we were surprised that a small company like Superdemo, in terms of the size of the team, they found it super useful because Slack was super chatty for them, because everyone was like remote and every conversation was happening on Slack, right? So and across like different time zones as well. So they found like Zivy super useful. We have companies from various domains, right? Audience from say India probably would know about like insurance company like Plum, or fintech company like Navi. So we have people, companies using it across different sizes of the companies, and like various across various domains as well.
Sure. Got it.
And as you kind of mentioned about funding, we actually have raised funding early in our journey. So we have like both like large VCs as well as angels like funding us, and like very grateful to them in terms of partnering in our vision. So yeah, and we are a very small team, by the way. Like we just like a team of 10 people working on Zivy, and kind of building all this good stuff.
Okay. And if you want to quickly showcase, you can share about the exclusive offer that we are currently running on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, so for the audience that we have on the webinar, right? We have right now a lifetime deal going on, wherein you can actually have Zv, the current features and the future features that I spoke about during this webinar so far, kind of experience that for our entire lifetime, under like three packages, starter, pro, and business. So like whoever is interested in terms of just giving it a try, we also have like a 30-day no question asked money guarantee program as well. So you can give Zivy a real try for a month, and we are very confident that you will find it useful, and it will save your time, and you can actually probably spend that time bringing more business, rather than like getting stuck with all the messages. Or you can like if you're thinking about hiring an assistant for yourself to kind of to kind of manage all the chaos that you're kind of going through in terms of client handling, you can avoid all of that by using Zv, by just having choosing one of these plans, and kind of not only that, we at the moment, till this weekend, we're also kind of providing additional early bird offers. So anyone in this audience want to make a decision to buy Zv and try it out, there will be another additional 20% off on the lifetime deals that we are kind of currently running. I think the links are out there on the community page, and you can share that if you need more information around it.
Sure. I am sharing the link to check out Zivy. I will also pin the comment for Zivy's exclusive offer. Okay. Sure. So, guys, it's been like nearly 40 minutes. We have been live. There are more than 20 people who are watching us live right now, as I can see. And if you have any other question, yeah, we have a comment from Nog that he liked the UX part of Zivy. So, thanks, Nog.
Cool.
Sure. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and we will pick them up quickly. Okay, we will wait for 2 minutes. If there are any questions, we will take them or we'll stop it here.
Yeah, and happy to answer questions offline as well. Any question that community members have around Zv, and any suggestions that they have, any feedback as well, we'll all up yours, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have any other questions, you can directly comment on them and the team will respond even after this live stream. I think we were supposed to go live in the community as well, but it got disconnected all of a sudden. We will need to check that out as well.
Cool.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Vivek, for joining us for this session. Do you have any final words to say for the community or users?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot, Chaitanya, for the opportunity. And I think I will leave with like one comment is that if you really want to think of Zivy as your sort of second brain, which is kind of taking away all the operational work from your end, so that you can actually save time and mind space to focus on more things which are more important. And you know uh, and if you currently if you're on Slack, yeah, that's you should definitely give Zivy a try. And we also kind of plan to kind of add more tools in future. This is the feedback that comes in from a user, and we have been like very close to our users who have been with us in terms of using us and giving feedback, and all the thing that you're seeing on Zivy, as I'm mentioning, right, has gone through a lot of iterations. This is the user feedback. So yeah, I would hope you guys kind of check out Zivy, give Zivy a try, and and love the
Sure.
experience.
Okay. Yeah. As you mentioned, Slack, we had one question from a community member.
Sure.
So you have any plans to integrate with other apps? Because right now it's only Slack.
Yeah, so it depends upon what platforms our users are mostly active on in terms of communication. And in fact, initially, right, just to give a sense of why we chose Slack, right, to begin with. Initially, we were kind of integrating both emails like Gmail and Slack, right. But when we actually went back to our users, right, and showed them fine, we're going to do all of this together, right. The feedback that came to us was that depending upon the role and also the org, either the person was actually more active on emails, say 80% communication actually happening on emails, or the other way around, right? So your 80%, 90% messages actually coming on Slack, right? There was hardly any use case where someone is equally active on both as such, right? So that's the reason why we chose to drop like the Gmail integration. We actually had done some work on that, and we went deeper into Slack. The amount of work that we have done in terms of the deep integration that we have done on Slack. It's not a simple just integration, the notifications and APIs and just processing it. It's a very deep integration in terms of processing, making it sure that it actually works for you. You feel like Zivy knows you right from day one. That kind of integration takes a lot of effort and thinking and feedback addressing from users, right? So that's the reason why we have chosen to be on Slack. But having said that, if there are sort of users who feel that they actually use multiple tools equally and that have noise coming from all of these tools, and they would love Zivy to be part of those tools as well. All open to that feedback and understand that, and and look kind of include those tools also in our roadmap.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So I am not able to see any other questions from the audience right now. So we can conclude this session over here. It was nice brainstorming with you, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you soon for the next event.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.